We're going to talk today about setting up Perforce to be used with Unity. At least Perforce here how we use it at in the GSAS program in RPI. Now I'm going to use a lot of default settings just to make things easier. There's much more complicated ways that you can do things, and you can get fancy. But trust me, I think for the first time, new users, you want to keep it simple. Okay, so I'm going to assume two things: that you have already installed Unity 2021 in this case, and you've already downloaded and installed Perforce P4V from Perforce. Okay, so in the description below, I'll put a link to the actual Perforce site to download P4V, and that should get you there. All right. So here we are at my crazy desktop, lots of stuff going on. And I'm going to go ahead. The first thing you want to do is you don't want to have Unity running first. We actually want to run P4V first. Now, after we initially run P4V, we really shouldn't have to visit it much. Okay, it's really just for setting up the first time in the case of using it with Unity. All right. Now, this is the server that we use at RPI. If you're no longer at RPI, you set up a personal server, this would be something different. But this is the server we use at RPI. Use the username is going to be your RPI username, your email address, except without the @rpi.edu. And chances are your workspace is going to be empty. Now, before you get here, you may even be asked about your username and your password. And like I said, this is something that's hosted at RPI, so you're going to use your RPI name and password. Now, actually, before it lets you even log in, before we go any further here, you also want to make sure that you're either on campus or you are using the campus VPN, right? Because this requires that you be on a campus connection, right? You can't just do this remotely, at least not without being on the VPN. Me here, I'm on the VPN, so it's going to work out. I think I'm still on the VPN. Okay, so we're going to set up a workspace. Now, notice this says short test. We're going to create a new workspace, so click on new. And what Perforce will then do is show you all of the depots. Depots are like repos or repositories, like if you're used to Git. But depots, it'll show you everything you're allowed to get to on the Perforce server. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to exclude anything I'm not interested in at the moment. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to say exclude this tree, exclude this tree, exclude this tree, exclude this tree, and exclude this tree. The only one I'm really interested in right now is GSAS 2540 S22. That's probably what you're interested in as well. And if you click on here, you should see AM and PM and users. And hopefully you see underneath users, you should see your user directory, at least. So at this point, we can leave all the rest of these checked here, meaning we're interested in these. You may be interested in AM and PM. I may be using those to kind of give you extra files. Now, the other thing, what's up here is we're going to be able to say workspace name, workspace root. So let's give it an appropriate name. Let's call it IGP Spring 2022, okay? So we're going to create an IGP _ Spring 2022. That's going to be the name of our workspace, right? When you're working with Perforce, you're going to create at least one workspace. This is going to be basically your view on your local computer into the Perforce depot, all right? So it's going to be how you look at the server, but the local version on your computer, all right? So it's going to put that in a particular location on your computer. Now, what exactly it says here, it may say users Perforce, users Amory Perforce. Well, I won't say Amory for you because that's my name, but it's going to give you some sort of name here that's going to be where it puts it on your hard drive. It's going to be important that you know this because later on, when we open up Unity, you're going to need to put your Unity project in this this directory, or at least a directory off of this directory, okay? So we see users, Amory, Perforce, IGP Spring 2022. All right, that's fine for me. Put it on your hard drive where you want it to be. But remember, you maybe write that down or just remember where that is. Okay, users, Amory, Perforce, IGP. All right, I'm going to say okay. It's all set to go. We have a workspace, we have a username, we have a server. Let's press OK, and we'll connect. All right. Now, mine just happened to open up on my other monitor, but you'll see something like this, which is a view of the depot. You may not see all of these users. You may not see the other depots and so on. Right? This is going to be all extra stuff here for me. But you should see at least one, and it's probably GSAS-2540-S22 for spring 2022. All right, and you should see the AM, PM directories, and you probably even see your, could be any one of these. Here I am. Here's my directory. All right. Now, at this point, we're going to want to put that on our local drive. You'll see here we have the Depot tab and we have the Workspace tab. Currently, it knows about the Workspace, but nothing is here yet because it hasn't created the local copy yet. All right, it knows about the connection, but it doesn't know about the local copy. So we'll go over to the Depot and we're going to want to tell it, okay, what are we interested in getting at this point? Now, the easiest thing to do, just to be exclusive or explicit here, I'm going to select here this GSAS 2540 S22, and I could go one step further. Well, going to go ahead. I'm going to say Get Latest. All right? So click on that, say Get Latest. Now, down here, you'll see Perforce Spring to Action, and it will download whatever files are in that view of the workspace. Now, if I go over to Workspace, we'll see that it has been populated with some files in here, right? We can see this initial text in my AM and PM, and in users, if I go into Amory, we'll actually see there's already a Unity project in there, but don't worry about that one. Okay, don't worry about that one. Yours will just be blank. It may have an initial text in it, but probably is just blank. Okay, now we stop. We stop using Perforce at this point. Let's assume that it's all good. So we're just going to close that down for that like that. Now, go over and launch the Unity Hub. This happened to be on my other computer, but here we are. Okay, Unity Hub, projects. Now, I'm going to create a new project that's going to wind up in that depot. How do I do that? Well, it's going to be important that I say, first off, I'm going to say new project, right? New project. I'm going to tell it what version I want to use here. I'm going to use 2021, at least the most recent version of 2021 that I have. I'm going to create a 2D URP project, just in my case. And the important part is now we're going to choose a name for it. We'll call it 2D URP Spring 2022, right? And I'll put AMEREE in it. It's gotten less important to put your RCS ID in these days because now if you're using Perforce, it's okay. But it's always a good idea to have something identifiable. Now, location. This is the important part. Now, let's search. You'll notice in my case, it's already there. Perforce, IGP, GSAS 2540, users, Amory. Okay, this is in IGP. That's not quite right? Because we really want to be in Perforce. Where was it now? I should have paid more attention. But let's look. The most recently created one is this one, Spring 2022. Right, that's the one we just created. All right, that's important. All right, so let's go down, users, and I'm going to put it in the Amory directory. You'll see there's already a project in there, and that's okay. We're not going to worry about that. We're going to create a new project here. So we just say select folder. All right, so it's going to create 2D URP Spring 2022 _ Amory in that folder. All right, go ahead, create project. Okay. I'll give it a second to create that new Unity project. It'll open Unity. So take a second. Drink a little seltzer here on a Saturday. No harm in that. It's a polar ginger seltzer or ginger mule seltzer. It's nice. Crisp, non-alcoholic. Good way to. I'm trying to basically spend some time while Unity loads. This will take a little bit. Right, this is the stage that Unity is going through. It may download new files from the internet if necessary, but it's just going through associating all the appropriate packages and everything with your Unity project. It takes longer the first time. Subsequent times when you open the project, it shouldn't take nearly this amount of time. But I need the Jeopardy music. No, that's different music. Getting there. Bit like watching paint dry. This isn't totally unusual. Eventually I'll have to create a edited version of this video that cuts this part out. Feel free to try to skip ahead. I'm not sure by how far. So, well, I guess I can mention at this point. The reason we're using Perforce, what is Perforce for? Perforce is a version management system. So it's also a central depot so that all of the projects in the class will wind up in the same spot on a remote server. So if anything happens to your computer, you're covered. And it also, so you have, as you create different versions of your project, you can save them and you'll save older versions versus newer versions so you can get back to things as they change and so on and so on. So it's great use to have it here. Now, all right, I've got the project, and now we have to connect this project to the Perforce depot. All right, so important thing, file. Now we're gonna go here, let's see, edit project settings, and it opened on the other screen, of course. This is all your project settings, and you wanna look through here, you're gonna find one called version control. All right, by default, it says visible meta files, and that's just in case you were using Git or some other system, but we're going to click on that and choose Perforce. All right, and the information you need to put in here is all the information that you used on the other, in the other setup. Okay, so username, in my case, AMEREE. Password, not going to tell you what that is. Okay. Workspace. Now, this is important that you remember what is the name of the workspace that we're using. I'm going to go ahead and open up Perforce here, and here is our workspace, IGP underscore spring 2022. No spaces. Make sure we have that. IGP underscore spring 2022. So we'll come over here, workspace, IGP underscore spring 2022. All right. Server, important. All right, look back over here. Let's see. Connection, we can see open recent. Remember, this is our connection, has-helix win.rpi.edu :1666. Okay, so has-helix win.rpi.edu. Let's go back over here. has-helix .rpi.edu :1666. Did I get that right? has-helix rpi.edu. I'll look back just for one more. Connection recent win.rpi.edu, of course. Okay. Now, if everything's gone well, don't change anything back in here yet. Say connect. Let's say connecting. It now says connected. Great. All right. Now you'll see here there's a little reference, a little legend here to tell you that there's going to be little dots that appear next to your files in your project, showing that there are local versions, deleted local versions, conflicted files, etc., etc. Right? If they have been checked out, if they have been added, local, and so on. So right now we have added these files, and we can say submit. Now on the other scene, the other screen, sorry, you'll see that it is asked, okay, let's submit this, and we'll say first submission, setting for version control. And we'll say submit. All right, so now in project settings, that is set. I'm going to close that. But you'll see there's still lots of dots here. All right. So to get everything checked in, what you want to do is come to Assets here and right-click on Assets and say Version Control. And we can say Submit. Let's see, we have an empty change list. Nothing's in the change list yet. Let's go one step further. We'll say Window. And under Window, we should also see Asset Management Version Control. I'm going to click on that. It'll take a second. Come on, where are you? Here we are. We're on the other window. So we went to the Window Asset Management Version Control. And now from here you'll see, okay, lots of files, right? So it's created a thing here showing all the files that are part of the project that need to be updated, all right? Nothing incoming, nothing on the server, but it's all outgoing at this point. So we'll say, this is the one, this is what we want to submit, all right? So let's say submit. All right. Now we're gonna. This one will actually be. Doesn't matter. You don't have to say second, but I'll say second submit all the files Unity thinks are important in the project. All right, and we'll say submit. And it is adding those to the project. And notice the default add list now here, the default change list is empty. Okay. There's lots of settings, there's lots of things you can do, but we're going to try to use things, just use the defaults, right? So there's always, what happened here? Still showing like that. Window, what happened? Version control, asset management, version control. Default. All right, so that's the behind the scenes one. Maybe we need to still do something because look, there's dots here. All right, now in this case, let's say click on that, right click, say, okay, version control, submit. And why is this an empty change list, but it's showing that? Let's see here. They are added local. Oh, we didn't mark them for add. That's the thing. Okay. Important thing. These are files that are sitting here, and it doesn't know necessarily if we want to put them in the tree yet. That's what I forgot to do. So go to version control. We're going to say mark add. All right, now you'll see this little plus in here, okay? Because these are files, you can put all kinds of files in your project, but maybe you don't want to include all of them in your repository or depot. Okay, so we're going to mark this. So click up here in Assets and Version Control. We'll say mark for add. And that's something you should get in the habit of doing, right? If you've added any new project, you added any new files, make sure click on here, right click, Version Control, mark add. And now, if we say version control submit, now you'll notice it says it has those files in there. All the files that belong specifically to our project. Okay? And notice they're all our assets at this point. So we'll say submit. Okay. So there's been 3 submits that we've done. One which was just basically the project settings. There was a second submit that was kind of the behind the scenes file, the packages and so on that Unity might need us to know about. And then the third one here is the assets that we have in our project. Now look, everything is nice. There's no little dots next to things. So looks like we are all current. All right. So the moment you change something, though, I'm going to go ahead here and I'll go ahead and add a 2D object, a sprite, and we'll add a circle. All right. So we've added this circle here, and I like to put this up in here, and I'm going to move the circle around. There it is. And now notice that nothing has changed yet, but if I go to scenes and I say file, save, the sample scene should show up as having some changes in there now, right? Okay, why isn't it showing change yet? Let's see, version control. Oh, it doesn't want to check out. So let's say save. We close the project. Let's see now. Back over here in Perforce, we'll notice in the depot, if we go to AMEREE, we're not going to touch anything over here, but we're going to see over in here, there is 2D URP Spring 22 _ Amory. There's the project that we just created. We'll see in the asset folder, there's all the versions in there. There's the scenes. And if we go in scenes, you'll see, there's sample scene.unity. Oh, it's got a little check in here. Okay, checked out in the default change list. Interesting. Okay, so what must have happened is behind the scenes, Unity has checked that file out, and we have made changes to it. Okay, notice the other ones, nothing else shows that little check there. That's the one that is checked out. Now, we're not going to change it over there. We're going to go back to Unity here. So here we go, click on that, and we'll open it. And this time it will be much faster. We'll be getting into good habits and just doing this all the time. It'll become second nature. Maybe we'll get some shortcuts as we go here. All right. So there's our UDP. Oh, URP, okay, sample, asset settings, scenes, here we go. Is there a little plus? Oh, there's a little tiny little dot that I didn't see because my eyeset is not great. So see that little check right there? I probably didn't notice that before, or maybe I was looking at the wrong scene here. Scenes, that little check, that means I've checked out this file. That means I've edited it. So I have the circle, and I duplicate that circle, and I'll put that over here. So now we've done some different things to that. Now we'll say save. All right. And nothing's changed on the server. It hasn't pushed it to the server. So we could right click on here, version control, and notice there's now submit, checkout, and so on, right? So we're going to say submit, and you'll see here assets, scenes, sample scene.unity, right? We'll say added circles to the main scene, and we'll say submit. Okay, notice the check went away. All right, also notice if we go over to Perforce now and refresh that the check went away there. And now something interesting has happened. Notice we have next to the file name there's a number 1 of 1 in this case, and there's a number 2 of 2 in this case. That means that there are 2 different versions. Whoops, I don't want to do that. I want to cancel. I want to open it. We want to see files here. So click on files. So on this, we can see things. Files, and you'll see now under here, samples 2 of 2, 1 of 1, and we can even go to the history. History is where it gets really interesting, right? Notice the first version, all the files, oh, I had a typo, all the files that belong specifically to our project, that's when that got checked in. And the second submit, it said, oh, okay, added circles to the main scene. So now there's that. If I wanted to, if I needed to, I could actually go back and revert to that other older version if I wanted to. But for the most part, we're going to try to keep just moving forward. If you need to do a revert contact me, contact your instructor so they can kind of help you through the process. I don't really want to get into that much at this point. The main thing I want to go through with you here is really just the setup process, right? So now we can close Perforce altogether. And let's see, let's go ahead. I'm going to save, I'm going to create another scene. So we'll create another scene and we'll call this the lobby, for example. And notice it has been added now, right? So Unity was smart enough to say, all right, we've added that to there, right? So I don't think we need to say version control mark add because it went ahead and did that. Right? Sometimes it will do nice things for you like that. So we see the plus. If you see the dot at the bottom saying, oh, it doesn't exist yet, we may have to add it. Right? But in this case, since we created it with Unity and we're already connected to Perforce, it's all good. All right, so it added that scene. We'll double click on that. And there we'll say add a UI, legacy, text, or we'll go with a Text Mesh Pro text. And there, let's see it. Double click on the canvas, double click on the text. All right, there's the text. Let's call it Welcome to Unity with Perforce. All right, can't quite see it. Let's make the font size something interesting. 32. Why was the font size -99? It's interesting, kind of weird. Make this bigger. I'm not a regular user of not quite the normal user of Text Mesh Pro, so I'm not the best one at that yet. I don't know what I did wrong here. And I'm going to come a little closer to the microphone so I can come closer to the screen and see it. Auto size. Maybe I don't have the font installed. Font asset, none. Well, that's interesting. I must not have added all of the... Somehow I didn't get all my Text Mesh Pro assets installed here. That's interesting. That's a story for another day. So let's not use the Text Mesh Pro. We're going to delete that. Instead, we'll say to that canvas, we will add a good old-fashioned UI legacy text. There we go. And hopefully that has, yep, Arial. So double click on that. There it is, new text. And let's call that Hello Unity and Perforce. And we'll make that much bigger, 32. And we'll make it overflow, and give it a nice bright green color, perhaps. Something kind of like that. Okay. Let's see the canvas. And we'll move that text around a little bit. There we go. Canvas. Go back to our main camera. All right, we see it's in the scene. And we will save. And now if we go back and look in here, we'll see that there is still our new scene with our lobby in it. Nothing else is really in there. But what we want to do, we can always go back over here. Now let's see if everything's going to be good. Window, Asset Management, Version Control, and it has added our lobby scene and our scene template settings. All right, so it's a couple of changes in here. Let's click that. We'll say Submit, and we'll say added our new lobby scene. No exclamation points necessary. Submit. Right? Checkboxes should go away until the moment where I, of course, add, say, another sprite. If I add that and say save. Notice the check. I've checked it out again. Don't worry about it. We're just going to leave that there for now. Just move that around in the world just so we can see it. All right. So there's yet another change. And notice Perforce isn't even running. Right? Perforce doesn't need to run. It's kind of built in. The client is integrated in there. So we'll go ahead. We'll reconnect. Make sure when you reconnect, you're using that same workspace. All right. You probably have to give it your username again, but we'll just go ahead. OK. And I'm just going to look at it in here, you'll see, okay, added our new lobby scene. It's already showing up there. But it also shows that it's checked out, which is okay, right? So the interesting part for you is just, you can make sure that things show up in here. And I'll check as we get into things that, everybody's checking their stuff in as appropriate. And right now I'm seeing what's in the depot. So I'm seeing the version that's in the depot versus the version that's on the workspace. And hopefully, as long as you are submitting things, they should match. Like you'll notice here, if I go to 2D URP scenes, and here we see that, that lobby is checked out. So you can always look around to see, is that checked out? And right here, I could decide to check it in or submit it or something directly, but don't, right? We want to do just about everything directly here from within Unity, right? So just to review, your project settings has version control, has your settings that should look just like this. Well, Workspace, I don't know if I have that little typo in there. There's your server name. You're going to have your name, your password. Those are your RPI ones. And otherwise, you should be good to go. We'll talk about this more. Oh, look at this. That's why I didn't get my fonts. It was over on the other screen. I should have done that. Okay, package installation requires to open some files for edit in version control. Sure, go ahead. We'll check those out. Right? So this is a good case. Even something like that. Do I want examples and extras? No, I just need the essentials. Close that. And you'll see here under assets, we've got our Text Mesh Pro assets. They've all been added. So might be a good idea now. Go assets, version control, submit, added the Text Mesh Pro essentials. Right? Are you going to use this often? Are you going to submit often? I sure hope so, because it's a good thing to do, right? You want to be checking in things as often as possible because it's your backup. It's also your help out of a jam if it's a problem, right? If you create a bug. So always be working, every time you save something, every time you kind of move forward, you should be submitting all the time to Perforce. All right, we'll leave it there. That wasn't so bad, was it? I hope not.